Welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And this episode features a band that's getting some rave reactions from fans, the media, and the heavy metal world in general. The band is Crypta, and the rave reactions are because of their debut album, Echoes of the Soul. It's an exciting listen, for it truly shows the metal world that metal is in good hands. And we say that because, well, the band itself is pretty young. 3/4 of the band, wouldn't you believe it? They wouldn't be able to buy or purchase alcohol in Bombay, India. And that's because the legal age to be able to buy some booze, where Peter and I stay, is 25 years old.
Wow, that's quite late.
That voice, of course, belongs to Sonia Anubis, better known to the world as lead guitarist of Crypta. Sonia, welcome to Horns Up. And let's begin by asking, does age really matter when it comes to heavy metal?
Absolutely not. You know, the special thing about heavy metal, it's for everyone, for any kind of people, you know, for women, for men, for blonde people, for dark-haired people, whatever gender, it's for, or color or ethnicity, it doesn't matter. It's for everyone. And also age doesn't matter. So that's the special thing about this genre, is that it's for everyone. So I believe it's not a factor.
That answer. But, we'll circle back and get to age in a bit. But first, let's talk Crypta and Echoes of the Soul. First of all, congratulations on the album. The reviews and reactions met your expectations?
Oh, it was above our expectations, honestly. We took a lot of time to write this album. We did it very low-key before we actually announced the band. So we really put a lot of time into it. And we did it with a lot of passion, and we wanted to Crypta to be the band that had everything done in the right way. We come from, we had a lot of musical past with different bands, and we have a lot of experience on how it went in these bands. And we wanted to put all of the good things that we have experienced in this new Crypta that we're creating. And we were hoping that Echoes of the Soul could be the album that, it's the one that we finally make, that we feel like everything is just right. So, it's the way that people have reacted for it being a debut album, which is our first album ever. It's absolutely amazing how people have been reacting to it. It's been amazing how the songs have been received. The first 3 songs that we released before the album, they have been watched a lot of times on YouTube and been streamed extremely many times on Spotify. So it's absolutely amazing, for sure.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, here's a question. Because of all the reviews, and I'm sure you guys would be reading the reviews, etc., is there any facet of the album that critics or fans just haven't been able to get? Or on the flip side, is there something that you think should be talked about more than it has?
Well, I think what a lot of people are conversing a lot about in this album is the genre, because when we started Crypta, we announced the band to be old school death metal. So everyone was expecting for an old school death metal album, but They got completely something different. We didn't expect it either. We had the plan to create a old school death metal and to write old school death metal things, but somehow our influences were quite different in the death metal. We are very into death metal, but we like different styles. For example, Fernanda is really into the brutal. I know Luana really likes the Swedish death metal, and myself, I'm kind of in every style I really like, but lately I've been extremely influenced, certainly for this album, on the Polish blackened death metal. So there's a lot of different things going on in the songwriting of this album, and that's why there are some songs that sound a little bit more rhythm oriented, and some that are more melodic, maybe a little bit more blackened. There's a lot of different textures going on. And I think that's the surprise that people didn't maybe expect and thought, and maybe it was for some people, oh, this is not what I wanted to hear. But for more people, it was also oh, this is actually something different. And that's what we actually wanted to do. Yeah.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, it's not pure death metal in that regards, because it's through the album and through all the songs, you get all these mixtures of influences that's coming in. I even hear speed at sometimes, I hear thrash sometimes. But, there's one song in particular that I have to ask about. Was there any discussion about Dark Night of the Soul as the album closer? And you know why I'm saying that, because of that ending section of that song, right? I mean, once you hear that, no one, and I mean no one, expects the ferocity of From the Ashes to hit you like the way it does. Was that the plan?
Well, yes, we really definitely thought a lot about the order of the songs in the album. So it definitely was like, we really thought about it very well. We had our papers and we were giving our feedback on how we wanted it to be. And we had it in this way, like if we have one fast song, we need some slow ones in between and then another fast one. And we wanted to, start fast after an intro. The intro would get you into the vibe. For example, Awakening is like, it gets you in like you're entering the crypt, gets you inside of this world that is echoes of the soul, from the world of this album, I mean. And we also have the outro from the ashes, which is like, it's burning, it's like the end of the album, you can hear that. And we wanted to connect everything in a logical way. As for energy, it has to keep being interesting to us, and to keep it interesting, you cannot go slower and slower. In our opinion, you have to like make it a little bit like a roller coaster. And this is what our plan was for this album. You start like very fast with Starvation, and then you go a little bit more into the, more a little bit slower, but still like rhythmic, groovy songs. And then, we changed it up a little bit, and we decided to also end the album with something very strong. From the Ashes, it was our opinion, the strongest song of the album, for the reason that we also chose it to be the single. So we wanted to end in a very strong way. And Dark Night of the Soul is also a very strong song, but we didn't want to end very soft. We wanted to really end strongly. And I guess opinions are different about it for sure.
Talk to us about writing the music for Crypta, right? I mean, you talked about all the various influences that you had all across the board, some of it not even like death metal, right? And the band is fairly young in age relatively. Does that, translate into taking more risk as songwriters? And how do you kind of keep a check on yourselves?
Well, of course, the age doesn't really matter for us. We have a lot of experience with our previous bands, and the songwriting went actually, surprisingly easy, in my opinion. Even if we are living very far away, the other girls live far from each other in Brazil. Myself, I'm living all the way on the other side of the world in the Netherlands. So we made everything happen in distance, meaning that we shared all of our ideas with videos, with voice recordings, with any kind of technologic way to share with each other the ideas that we had stuck in our mind for the album. And we started all the way back in 2019 writing Echoes of the Soul. We started only with 3 girls. Fernanda, Luana, and I were first together writing music. And around 1 month or something before we announced the band, actually, Taina also joined. So big part of the album was already written when she joined. So mainly the songwriters of the music were myself, Luana, and Fernanda in this album. So for us, it was very easy. We got all the time to write it. There was no deadline or stress about getting things done very fast. This gives us like a lot of ease to do things in our own way, to really pay attention to the detail. And that's why we got to really find the sound that we can identify as Crypta. And I think you can very well hear it in Echoes of the Soul. You cannot define it as death metal. It's more like, Crypta. It's a mixture of this different influences that we have, and we had the time to find it out. And that's the product of the time that we took to create this.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that you're responsible for, and let's put you on the spot. What's a solo from the entire album that you're most proud of, and why that particular solo?
Wow, that's a hard question, because I put a lot of time on every single solo that I write for the album, and I'm as a guitarist, I really put a lot of like attention, and I love every single one, because otherwise I wouldn't put it in the song. Well, I'm not always extremely happy, but there are some songs that I'm more happier about. I think one of them would be Dark Night of the Soul. Definitely, it's the ending solo of the song was for me one of the most technical things that I've done in my life. Maybe it doesn't look too technical for some like guitar virtuos people, but for me, it's like, whoa, I'm showing techniques there that I haven't ever been able to do in certain solos, and I really had practiced to being able to record this. And that's why I'm very happy how it turned out there. And I have to really give a second one. I think also the solo from Starvation is one that I really like.
Ooh, so between the two, if you were in a guitar duel, which one would you play first?
Ooh, I think I start with Starvation and I'll end up with Dark Night of the Soul.
Excellent. Okay. Now, fans of heavy metal music, we all tend to overanalyze and get really invested in technicality.
I'm that kind of person.
Right? Okay, so then here's a question just for that. What's a riff or a part from the album that you think these fans would spend or can spend hours analyzing?
Ooh, that's a difficult one, but I think I have an answer to that one. I think the main verse riff of Death Arcana is it's quite a tricky one to get. It's actually the first riff that I've ever written in death metal. I wrote it in 2010. It's
wow.
Crazy. Very long, or not 2010, maybe a little bit later. I think 2000.
Oh, wow.
No, not 2010. I'm making it too bad. I'm thinking my time frame is like horrible. I'm very bad at time, but like I meant to say like 8 years ago or something like this. Very long time ago when I started playing guitar and I was really into death metal, and I had like, okay, now I really need to start, making death metal riffs. And I came up with that riff a long time ago. And in the bands that I was before, I never was able to use it because none of the bands would like it. It sucked a lot. They never were interested in having the riff in the song. So I was like, okay, finally in Crypta, I can finally use this riff that I really like. It was very inspired by Morbid Angel and by Behemoth and this like very octavated stuff and like very Middle Eastern sounding, but at the same time, very old school death metal. So that's the main riff that became the main riff of Death Arcana. And it has like a pinch harmonic in it, something that we don't have in the whole, all the songs.
Yep.
Special. And the riff is actually very long. It has like, it's not like the 4-bar kind of usual thing. It's different. And that's what I really like this riff. Maybe it's something special for people to analyze. I don't know.
Fantastic. I'm sure people will spend a lot of time on that.
All right. So, we've spoken about a few songs already. So here comes the more difficult question, and that's why we were leading up to it. Let's play a song from the album. Pick one and tell us something about it that the average listener wouldn't know.
All right. I know one that we could choose, and Kali.
Ooh. Like honestly, when I first saw the word Kali as one of the song titles, it immediately brought to mind our goddess Kali that we have.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
right? Have you? Yep. I know. Yeah. So is it? I have to ask. You must have definitely Googled Kali, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't she the most
Fernanda.
metal god ever?
No, she's absolutely epic, and Fernanda really looks up to her, and she's also the main. She writes all the lyrics. So I could not tell you too much about it because I'm more of like the composition person. But she definitely is really like into Kali. So she could, if you ever get to talk with her, she can definitely tell you more about it. So something special I have to tell about this song Kali is in this album Echoes of the Soul. There was something that I wanted to put in. I have a little bit of a. I used to listen to a lot of D-beat music, such as bands like Doom, Discharge, and they have a D-beat drum. I really, really wanted to have D-beat in this album, in some kind of riff somewhere in the album. So there was this riff that I wrote, na 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 na, and I asked Luana, please do D-beat, and it was like, oh, she never did D-beat before. She did a lot of
really
thrash metal beats, but D-beat was like, well, she probably tried it before, but it was like something new to implement in one of our songs because we never really did it before in any of our bands before. So it was like, okay, that's actually, let's give it a try, and that's how this D-beat section got in there. And it turned out a little bit in the thrashy, but the idea behind it was to add D-beat in the old school death metal kind of way. A lot of, old school death metal bands used to add D-beat in their music. So that's why I Entombed, for example. There's many bands that do that. And that's why that section feels a little bit more like raging thrashy.
Fantastic. Anyways, here it is. Here is Kali.
We're chatting with Crypta's lead guitarist, Sonia Anubis, fresh off the release of their debut album, Echoes of the Soul. So, Sonia, tell us about the production. What were some of the references that you shared with the engineers? What was the sound that you were looking for your guitars?
Well, we definitely had some like great people working on our album after it was recorded. We had the album being mixed by Arthur Risk, which is a producer guy from in America who has worked with many great bands such as Power Trip and Sepultura. From the mix, we wanted something very organic and at the same time still with a modern grasp, that it's not too like caveman sounding, but still a little bit like has a modern feel to it while don't losing its authenticity. So we thought that Arthur Risk could really take that originality out of our music and make it feel more natural. And for the more modern grasp, for the mastering is to make the songs listenable in all, systems and stuff. And we thought, okay, for that, we definitely need someone that has a lot of experience with it. And we couldn't go wrong with Jens Bogren, who is some producer from Sweden. And he has worked with, countless amazing bands. You cannot doubt his discography. He has Arch Enemy, Marty.
Just open any of your CDs and you'll probably see his name somewhere.
Absolutely. He has a great array of great bands on his name. So to work with him was like extremely flawless. He delivered his work very fast. And we were very happy how the album turned out. Exactly what, we did it in a very short amount of time, the whole mixing and mastering thing, and we got what we wanted. So we were very happy with that. As for the actual recording process of, Echoes of the Soul, I flew to Sao Paulo all the way from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, to record the album. We spent a whole month in a studio, Family Mob, in Sao Paulo together. We shared an apartment together, and we had a very well prepared pre-production, meaning that we're completely ready to get in the studio and do what we have to do. And for this case, since a lot of the songs were already like pre-produced, our drummer Luana could start like straight away recording her drums. And after the drums were recorded, it was my turn to record all the rhythm guitars. So this took about, like, for me, 5 days, maybe 4 days. I'm not exactly sure anymore. We did like 3 different rhythm tracks with a 4th DI reamped in a different signal. So I would conclude into 4 different rhythm tracks for each song. That's why the songs have a very they're very like, I don't know how to tell it. It's like very raw, but at the same time very thick, in my opinion. We used for the rhythm guitars PV 6505 Plus in combination with a Marshall Vintage. I asked specifically for this combination a couple of months before January when we went to record, because I had done a little bit of research on YouTube. I don't own that gear, even though I thought it sounded extremely good. It's very crunchy sounding, that combination. The PV, you can't go wrong with the 6505. It's like used by a lot of like death metal heroes.
Yep.
Like
ion gain, lots of noise, good distortion.
Absolutely, like some very nice power amplifier. And the Marshall Vintage can really take that bite of that amplifier. Somehow it's like it brings a high frequency that I really like a really crunchy sound. And it sounded amazing when we were like trying it out in the actual studio. I was like jamming around together with Taina. Oh, this is it, because we tried a couple of other amplifiers, but it was not it yet. So we were very happy with that combination. And also the lead guitars were recorded with that combination, even though we added, of course, we changed the settings. We added some delay and some reverb to make it sound a little bit more dreamier for the solos. And after the guitars, we had the bass guitar, obviously, by Fernanda. Her sound is like killer. It's like ding, 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 ding. I love that.
It got a good clank, but yes, it's still so rounded. Like, it's not like the clickety kind of bass that you hear on death metal these days. Yeah.
She really wanted a little bit different than what she had with Nervosa, but still with that very clear sound in it. But we tried to get a little bit more bass in that, more low in that, and it's got like amazing. I think from all of us, she has like the most ideal. She got to get her most ideal, sound instrument. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like amazing. If I would be like a bass player, that would be like my dream sound. And I'm a bass player actually.
Yep.
But not in I'm not in this band. But as a bass player, I can say like that's like my dream sound. Awesome. It's awesome. And then after that, we had like the vocals, which were like the last thing. And at the end, we had the lead guitars, I believe. Yeah, it's like it's been a while already. Like I'm thinking, well, it's January, but yeah, we did everything in 1 month, which is extremely tight to get that done. But I'm so happy we got to finish it on time. We got our deadline just so on time to release the album. Yeah, so that was kind of the recording story of this.
Lovely. You know, I simply loved the way the drums sound on the album, the snare tone especially. Oh, it's beautiful because it really stands out. When you're going for that kind of an old school raw live tone, right, which immediately makes you feel like as if the band is in a jam room together and the recording just happens to be from the boards directly, right, rather than being overtly produced. Is that what you guys were going for?
We were looking for that. We wanted to keep it organic.
Organic, that's the right word. Yeah.
Still listenable. Not that it sounds like we recorded it in a cave or something, but still like you can really like listen what's happening. And Luana, I like that she's not using triggers for her drums. It's like she's that tight, you know. She doesn't need triggers to make it sound good, and that's so awesome. You know, I enjoy a lot rehearsing with the girls back when we were there because they're just extremely talented, and I feel honored that I can, you know, play with them.
Okay, so now let's move to that part of the chat. Yeah, where we talk about Nervosa. So, Sonia, can you tell us candidly and as honest as you can, and are you tired of all the comparisons to Nervosa as yet?
Honestly, you know, since I don't have a past in this band, I'm kind of like not too much focused on what people are saying. That I think Fernanda and Luana are more aware about it because they have like they probably have more like a bad experience with it, and they probably are more aware of it. Myself, you know, if I get I'm more aware of other things right now from feedback from people. For example, I'm more paying attention about what people say about my guitar solos. That would be like, oh, I'm like more careful about that. Or, you know, I've also had my past in my previous band, Burning Witches, even though people don't really like compare that because we're completely different styles.
Yeah,
so I'm very happy that it's not happening. And as for Nervosa, honestly, I don't really care, to be honest. I wish them the best. You know, I looked up to them before. That's the reason why I know Fernanda and Luana is because they were in that band and I saw them live play and I was always like, yeah, they rock, you know. So, you know, I wish them the best. The good thing about this split is that we get not just, you know, two bands, Burning Witches, Nervosa, but we get three different bands, Nervosa, Crypta, and Burning Witches. So this means more female musicians doing their thing, and this is a good thing.
Yep, exactly. Like, I mean, even if you were just to isolate Nervosa and Crypta, it's very similar to Metallica and Megadeth in some manner, right? All of it will just end up benefiting each and every band. Definitely.
I guess so. I mean, everyone is happy now, so that we all finally found our right place.
Exactly.
Okay, so on that note, here's the next toughest question for you. We want to play another track from the album.
Cool.
Which one should we play?
Let me see. Let me choose. I think I'll go for Bloodstained Heritage.
Okay, and why that track?
Well, Bloodstained Heritage is one of the tracks that I actually got to write all of it, most of it. And I was really extremely inspired by blackened death metal, certainly by Vader and Behemoth and this kind of bands. As I said in the beginning, I'm really like influenced by these bands lately. I don't know why. It's like they have very mystical kind of sounding death metal, and I really like that. So I wanted to make Bloodstained Heritage fully of this influences that I had, and that's is what it became. Honestly, I had a little bit of a different idea for the break of the song, but the girls in the band went, okay, just repeat that break a little bit more, and it turned out to become actually much cooler than it was. And I was like, well, that's a very long thrashy break, and now this song sounds a lot more thrash metal than it would have sound. So I actually really like how it turned out at the end. I like how the bass is like going through it, and I think it's a nice track. It turned out like a cool track. And a special thing that I really like about this song is that it has a key change. It's something that we don't use much in death metal, and a key change at the end of the song, I believe. And it's something that I've used in my older band, Cobra Spell. And I always thought it was maybe too much 80s, maybe too old school or too arena rock oriented to add a key change, because that's what pop musicians do. And I thought, what would happen if I put this in a death metal song? That was kind of the idea that I thought, what if we add this in the chorus and have a key change in the chorus? And it turned out to sound very epic. And I'm like, well, I guess we can do that more in the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. So here it is, Bloodstained Heritage.
Many
So we're still talking to Crypta's Sonia Anubis. Sonia, let's get to know you better now. So from what we know, you're Dutch. You were schooled in Spain, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And now you talked so much about Polish death metal having an influence on you.
I know, it's weird.
But Spain is also known as a musical country. Did it have an impact on influencing you in any manner?
Oh, not at all, honestly. Not
Really?
At all. Yeah.
Wow. You didn't pick up any of the flamenco or any of the acoustic guitar and all of that sort?
No, not at all, actually. But I really like Spanish music. I like Spanish singers and flamenco, and I like it a lot. I think guitar playing is extremely like, they have amazing, Spanish guitar players, and I look up to it all, but it's not an influence to me somehow. To make the album Echoes of the Soul, I really had different influences in that. As for my soloing, I'm extremely influenced by 80s guitarists, Yngwie Malmsteen, Marty Freeman, Paul Gilbert, all this like amazing virtuous guitarists. That would probably be my influence mainly. But I also have a little bit of Middle Eastern influences. Sometimes you can hear them in the music. Sometimes Dark Night of the Soul features a lot of Middle Eastern sound that inspires me. Mainly because I really like bands like, I like a lot of instrumental music that sounds a little bit Middle Eastern. It was, I don't know why I wanted to implement it in death metal. There's bands that have done it before, such as Nile and Melechesh. They have very much of these melodies, and it's always has been very inspirational. So once in a while, for example, in Death Arcana, you can hear some of that. In Kali, you can hear a little bit too. Dark Night of the Souls, From the Ashes, maybe a little bit, but not too much. You can hear it somewhere sometimes. In my solos, you can hear it almost every time, pretty much.
Yep. Now, your bio says that you were also inspired by Kiss and that you're a huge Kiss fan.
Absolutely. Yeah,
personal woohoo, personal shout out. Yeah, I love Kiss too. And what's more interesting is it said that you first picked up the bass and then moved to guitar.
That's right. I've been actually more bassist than guitarist.
Exactly. That's very unique because, at least here in India and even talking to musicians in the Western worlds, that's really unique because we generally hear stories where mostly the guitar comes first and then the band doesn't have a bassist. So the rhythm guitarist will say, hey, I'm going to pick up the bass. Right? What made you move from 4 strings to 6?
Well, actually, I went from 4, then to 5, and then to 6.
Okay, cool. We'll give you that.
Progression.
I really was liking at 14 years of age, which is long time ago already. I was extremely inspired by hard rock bands and Kiss mainly. Actually, Kiss was like the band that I was only listening to. The whole discography I was playing over and over again. You could play a song and I could directly say, well, okay, I know that one. So I was play it, and I was looking a lot of live concerts from them back in the 70s on YouTube. And I was impressed by how Gene Simmons, which is the bass player of this band, would go around like in such an amazing devilish way. He could take an audience like just with his look. He has an amazing performance, and aside of that, he just can play very well bass at the same time. He did also vocals while he was playing. The standard of bass players was always, they have to stand on the back, just play a little bit along to what is happening. But what Gene Simmons was doing was completely different. He was like some kind of showman at the same time. And this really made me want, bass is so cool. I want to pick up the bass. And I started playing the bass and teaching myself some songs. I actually got some lessons as a bass player. And a little bit later, I discovered more music from hard rock. I went to shock rock, from shock rock to thrash, heavy, even death metal, and then even black metal. It become a lot bigger. This world of metal was like a whole discovery that I needed to get to know everything. And this is how I got to think, actually I need to play guitar, because if I want to play this solo that it sounds so good, I'll have to play the guitar. I can do that with the bass. So I started also playing a side of the bass guitar, but just for fun, just as at home, if I want to jam along, I would play some guitar. But bass was really my main instrument since 3 or 4 years ago. I was a lot of playing in a lot of local bands in the Netherlands as a bass player. And the time that I got asked for Burning Witches was for me like a switch. Oh, maybe I can actually be also guitarist in a band. Maybe that could be something. You know, I know that I'm not the kind of bass player that likes to be in the back. And I would really see that, you know, in recordings, I would always see myself like being the one that's actually standing on the front while the guitars are just like feeling like being on the back. Like there's something wrong about this. Something maybe needs to change. But, you know, at heart, I'm still really much of a bass player. But right now I'm more of a, you know, I do a lot of more guitar stuff for sure.
The generation that has kind of grown up with the internet, right? And it's much easier to use technology. And as cliche as it sounds, accessing information is far easier than before, right? Now,
That's right.
Considering that you're self-taught, that has to be a boon, right? Just especially the journey that you took us through, moving from bass to guitar.
Well, you know, honestly, I've always in my life, I felt like an ease to learn music. I don't know why people always had partitures in front of them. It never made sense to me because I could just directly hear how something sounded and pick it up somehow and correct myself very easily because, of course, I had to learn the technical skills because otherwise you can't play the instrument. But I was very aware of sounds and making mistakes and how I can correct them to sound better. And maybe that gave me a little bit more of ease of to teach myself the guitar. Aside of that, I had already a basics on bass guitar. They're two incredibly different instruments though, but the basics maybe helped also a little bit on understanding the instrument a little bit more. But to be honest, you know, it wasn't that easy, of course, because there were techniques where I felt like stuck sometimes, you know, more like picking technique. I had to relearn it 3 times to at the end come to the right technique because there's no teacher that can tell me, hey, you're doing it wrong. And I would realize because someone said, oh, maybe you could do something else because it looks like you're struggling with this. And I said, oh, actually, yes, you're right. I'm struggling. Maybe I could try it differently. And this was kind of my way of learning. And, you know, learning a lot of songs by ear, I would just pick up any song that I like and try to figure it out by ear instead of looking for tabs on internet, which to me was very frustrating because as an ear learner, I would hear how many people would write it completely wrong. And that's frustrating to me because it's not more people will learn it wrong this way. So I still do it these days. Also, I'm teaching now guitar to a lot of students, and I see that they always want tablatures, and like it's very important to also use your ears because this way you also absorb what you're playing in your brain somehow, and it makes you really the process is much better for being a musician, in my opinion.
Yep, you brought up the fact that you're a teacher, and that was going to be my next question as such, because I have a couple of questions where I would like you to wear your teacher's hat. First up, what do you make of the kids you teach today? Is rock music and heavy metal alive and well? Like, is the future secured? Will we still have fans of this genre?
Oh, well, that's
and future musicians also.
Exactly.
You know, I of course can never say. I cannot spell what's gonna happen in the future.
Of course.
You know,
the kids who you teach, are they interested in rock and heavy metal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think everyone that is taking lessons at my, with me, let's say, they are very want to play metal and hard rock. I think that's why they would ask me, because most of the times I just release heavy metal and death metal. So even though I love to play a little bit of soft stuff, but I'm more of a rock guitar player. So that's more what I can teach too.
Okay.
But I think there's definitely hope for the future. You know, every time the more I work in music, the more younger people I see are coming to me and asking me for lessons. And this makes me very happy and fulfilling because, you know, there has to be a next generation. And I really hope there will be one. And my job, I feel like my job in here is to inspire these people. Even if I'm like not a big musician, I'm striving to be a person that can be an example for people, just like my heroes were for me when I started being a musician.
Fantastic. I think you already answered my next question, which was going to be, in an age where information is easily available, I mean, you can honestly learn everything you want online itself, right? Directly by watching videos. What is the value that a teacher brings to the table?
Ooh, a lot a lot of value, definitely. And I can say it myself. I started being more, putting more worth into this kind of, into having a teacher, into having someone that knows more about stuff to ask when you don't know things, because you'll get an answer straight away from someone that has experience. And to finding it out by yourself, it's sometimes okay to do that, but you get faster to where you want to get if you have someone that actually knows your problem. And I think personal contact, when someone is there to actually see your mistakes and correct something that you're not aware of, can lead to more progress than if you spend like a whole week trying to find out that you actually were doing it wrong. And there's nothing wrong for asking for help to anyone in any subject. Is it for guitar playing? Is it for maybe a subject that is difficult at school? Or is it for anything?
Now, heads up, this is going to make us sound like relics, but we couldn't resist asking you this. Since you're so young, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Whoa, that's a hard one. No,
It's a standard interview question.
It's a very difficult one because,
let's make it easy. 5 years, come on.
5 years. Well, I'll definitely be touring the world. I'm very, I have a lot of dreams and I visualize them like always. And, I really believe that my dreams will come true. So I definitely hope that I will be able to rely on the music in 5 years, 100%, that I can live of it, and maybe be able to get my own home. I hope that will be possible. Right now, I still live at my father's house, which I prefer to not do. Yeah, I would love to be able to do that, but as a musician, it's not always very easy. I'm hoping to get that done. I'm hoping to tour around the world, to just be a better version of myself personally, but also as a musician, to have released more music that's out in the world with Crypta, with Cobra Spell, which is my other band, and maybe something else. Maybe there's new projects coming. I really hope to also be able to release something as a solo musician. This is something that I've wanted for a long time, but I'm a little bit too perfectionistic with the stuff that I make. So it takes a long time, but I hope in 5 years I will be able to share it publicly.
Fantastic. May all your dreams come true, Sonia. This was one of the most fun chats we've had in a long time. On that note, thank you so much for indulging a couple of boys from Bombay. Hope it was worthy of your time.
I want to thank you so much because it's crazy to having a call with you guys all the way in India, right? It's wow. I'm mesmerized. I would love to play there with Crypta.
I'm sure when the world opens up, hopefully maybe something happens. Yep.
Yeah, and considering how we've been starved of metal for so long, who knows what's possible.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
So, at this point, go ahead and use the space. Where can people find you? Crypta, Cobra Spell, or those who are interested in signing up for you as a guitar teacher?
Yeah, so you can find me on all social media channels as Sonia Anubis, which is my artist name. And for my band, Crypta, it's Crypta Death on the social media, Crypta Official on others. And we are on all, you can order our album Echoes of the Soul on Napalm Records. And you can stream the music worldwide on all streaming platforms. And the same goes for Cobra Spell. And Cobra Spell is every social channel as Cobra Spell. And as for my guitar lessons, I do give guitar lessons and I take all kinds of ages, all kinds of levels. I do it on private, meaning that I always do it one by one and I look at what the person wants to learn. And yeah, that's my thing.
Fantastic. Thank you once again, Sonia. And dear listeners, you know the drill. If you'd like to chat or talk to us, we are at hornsuppod.com and on Twitter at hornsuppod. As always, I'm on Twitter at Asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
This was Horns Up.
Horns up, guys.
Woo! Horns up.